So for Math 2, we want to look at Unit 7, Lesson 10, solving right triangles using trigonometric relationships. Okay. And we'll look at the lesson part, and then we'll look at the homework, and we'll also look separately at using Wolfram. Okay, so what you want to do is take these and just make your drawing, and then from there you're going to use Wolfram. Okay? So in this one, for example, you have the wall and you have the ladder. So there's your ladder, that's 10 feet. And then you have this angle that's 65 degrees. So you say, well, what would I need to do? Well, what do I care about? I care about the opposite, right? So I care about the opposite to the hypotenuse. So the opposite to the hypotenuse is the sine. So the ratio of that's going to be the sine of 65 degrees. Okay? And what do we know? Well, we don't know the opposite. That's what we don't know. We know the hypotenuse. Okay, so when you have this situation, what do you need to do? So you're going to have to do 10 times the sine of 65. Okay, so, you know, this is like a couple months of work, and usually for sophomores in high school. So it just takes practice. Cast a shadow. Okay, so we say, okay, we're going to cast a shadow. And here's a shadow, and it's 15 feet long. Elevation angle of the sun at this time is 40 degrees. You're like, okay, I'm not sure what that means, but maybe it means this. Maybe it means that it's 40 degrees here. Okay. So now what is this? So you don't know the opposite, but you do know the shadow, which is the adjacent. Okay, so opposite versus adjacent. So if you don't have the hypotenuse in either one, that's the tangent. And so that should be tangent of 40 degrees. And say, okay, well, which one do I know? Oh, I know this one, but I don't know that one. So it's another multiplication. Let's look at in Southern California. There's a 6 mile day. Okay, so they're going to make you do a little bit more work here, right? So you say, okay, the ratio of elevation, all right? So the 6 miles, so here's the road, right? It's 6 miles. And here's the increase. It increased 2,500. Okay, so this is where it comes in handy to have Wolfram alpha, right? Is you're going to say 6 times 5,280 and 2,500. And so what do you have to do? Then you say opposite to hypotenuse is 2,500 to 6 times 5,280. And that opposite is sine. Okay. So then you're going to have to would equal the sine, but we don't know it. So we say arc sine, and we have the syntax of that of this ratio. Okay, so when I have this ratio, it's constant, right? It's a similar triangle. So that ratio, so mathematicians have said, oh, I've measured this a lot, and when I have this particular ratio, it equals this angle, and I use that arc sine function. I go back from that. So that's what we want to do. Okay, and so we're going to do this for 2 more days, and then we'll maybe we'll create a flashcard deck. So we'll start doing a Quizlet so you can remember them, because it does take a while before you can remember sine, cosine, tangent. Okay, and I think Josh, so you can ask Josh, there's a mnemonic that he's using that I've heard of too. Okay, so then when you look here, you look at these, so there's some things we know, right? So we know to look for Pythagorean triples. So if you have a Pythagorean triple, you know how to find the other side. Actually, you can always find the side using using the Pythagorean theorem, right? If you have two sides, you can always find the third. And then remember, we had the special triangles, right? So if you have a right isosceles, okay, you know the relationship is 1, 1, radical 2. And then think about that classic right scalene. What's the relationship there? So try to remember from yesterday. Again, this is something that we'll kind of drill and kill it, which is, I believe it's 1, 2, square root of 3. And let's say you can't remember. So just say 1 squared plus square root of 3 squared. Does that equal 2 squared? So 1 plus 3 equals 4. And you say, okay, that must be it. That must be the ratio. Whereas up here, it's 1 squared plus 1 squared equals square root of 2 squared. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay, so then I'll do a separate one on these homeworks.